This is Urban Knife Guy, where we discuss knives for city dwellers. Today we're going to have a look at the CRKT Pilar III, made of D2 steel, designed by Jesper Voxnae. CRKT, Columbia River Knife and Tool, confidence in hand. And the first thing you need to do is to be confident in opening the box. It comes with a pamphlet and the knife wrapped in plastic. And there we have the Pilar III. The original Pilar was designed by Jesper in his Denmark shop, and Pilar is named after Ernest Hemingway's beloved boat, the 38-foot long vessel that he used for renegade surveillance of German U-boats during World War II in Caribbean waters. So this particular blade is made of D2 steel, so different steel from the original Pilar. It's got a nice oval shaped hole there, which allows you to open it with a thumb flick. And you know, the overall design, if you're familiar with Jesper's work, this just screams his design. But before we get into the specs of this knife, let's do some visual comparisons, starting with the Spyderco Pilar III. With the Kershaw also sweet, and Benchmade Foray 698, and as usual, an Altoids tin. Let's look at the specs of the Pilar III. The blade length is just under 3 inches, 2.96 inches long. The handle length is 4.256 inches long, giving us an overall length of 7.188 inches long. The weight, nice heft to it, it's 3.8 ounces heavy. The blade steel is D2 tool steel. Now this is a fairly decent blade steel, and D2 has been around for a long time. During the World War II, D2 steel was used to punch out steel parts for vehicles and airplanes. So it's designed to punch multiple parts repeatedly, and this means that you're guaranteed with a hard steel that's got excellent edge retention. Of course, it's not as tough, and you're going to have a difficult time sharpening this to a very fine point as well if you aren't an experienced sharpener. But D2 steel is considered a great blade. It is not necessarily a stainless steel. In fact, it's considered a semi-stainless tool steel because it has a chromium composition of 11.5% to 12%, which does not meet the 13% chromium content to make it stainless. Nevertheless, it doesn't rust as easily as you think, and it is a good steel overall. This shape of the blade, I guess, is like a sheepfooty kind of a spear point blade with this nice swedge over here. There's also a belly to the knife. The thickness of the blade is 0.15 inches thick, which is 3.81 mm. That's pretty thick. This is basically a good working knife. And this finish is a stonewash finish. We mentioned this oval shape, which is kind of a hallmark for Voxnae's design as well. There is a finger choil for you, so that you can really get in for fine work if you need. If not, you can move your hand back and just hold it regular style. No gimping or jimping on the top over here. Slight jimping, I guess, here, but that's more for the frame lock more than anything else. So this is a frame lock, which means that the lock is built into the frame, and to unlock it you have to press that aside, a bit like a liner lock, disengage and allow the blade to fall shut like this. So that's pretty good action for this. This actually uses IKBS ball bearings for the pivot system, so you can flick it out pretty well like that. You can also reverse flick this way. So it's quite fidgety in that sense, but I can tell you it does take a knack to opening this knife, and maybe frame locks in general. Simply because for a frame lock, the lock is part of the frame, and as you naturally grip the knife, you will tend to kind of press it down, and once you press it down and put some pressure on it, it's very hard to kind of open the knife. So you have to hold it in such a way that you aren't really pressing against the lock of the frame, yet you have enough grip to kind of open the knife. So it's quite knacky, and it's a knack to be able to flick that open both ways with the thumb flick as well as the reverse or spidey flick over here. One thing about this frame lock, I'm not sure if it's this particular knife, but you know, this really goes in quite a bit, and especially initially I found it quite tough to press it through. I mean, I can press it now, but I've been working with this for quite a bit to get used to it. Maybe it's loosened up a bit, I'm not sure, but I did find it a bit tough initially, especially to kind of open it up. Now, if you do have trouble with a frame lock like this, or even sometimes a liner lock, if you can't seem to press your finger in, you can't get it in, here's one technique of closing it up. So instead of pressing the frame lock with your thumb like this, rotate it up and use your index finger and your thumb against the solid part of the knife and kind of just pry that to unloosen it. And you can get, it's much easier because I guess you're just having two pressure points, right? One down, one up, and that easily allows you to disengage the knife. Once you disengage the knife, do not close it on yourself. You're going to cut yourself. In fact, turn it upside down so that the blade faces down, and then close the knife that way. And generally, I always tell people to close folding knives that way, especially if you're new to knives. You know, don't close it with your fingers in the way, obviously, and don't close it upwards like that. Keep it down, because once you face the blade down, your fingers are definitely in the clear because you're going to be holding it from above, and you can safely close the knife or any knife. So this frame is made of stainless steel. The scales over here, G10, and you can open up this knife because you can remove the screws with a Torx screwdriver. There is a pocket clip, not really deep carry, but there are recessed screws, which is nice. So it's easy enough to slip into things. The pocket clip is tip up and right carry. You can't switch it over as with all frame locks. It's got an open back, as you can see. Knife is pretty much centered, and there's a nice stonewashed brass back spacer over here. Now, this knife is made in China, but I'm sure the quality control is pretty good with CRKT, so you're almost guaranteed a good knife. So what are the ergos on this particular knife? As with Jesper's Voxnae's designs, you know, it's always pretty good. You aren't going to have a problem with his designs. Well thought out, lots of contours, and because of the finger choil over here, you're going to get a good grip. I have small to medium hands, so you see I'm not even fully covering the entire handle. If you have big hands, you would have no problem whatsoever as well. That really allows you to work. I would say this is a good working knife. I think one of the most attractive things about this knife is the price point. For the D2 steel, for the design, MSRP is about $85 US, and you can get it under $60. So that's pretty good value for the knife you're going to get. And if you're looking for a working knife, worker's knife, again, depending what you do as a day job or what you may encounter for your urban EDC needs, this is definitely going to fit the bill. So how would you go about carrying this knife every day? Well, its size is similar, I think, a bit like the Spyderco Pilar III. So it's got a thin profile, but it's quite wide. It's got some weight to it. You could still put it in your pocket, use the pocket clip, but if you are carrying a lot of other things, you might find your pocket a bit heavy and quite filled up. So you might put this in a dedicated pocket or put it in a pouch, or if you're looking for an EDC organizer, you need to find the right size. So for example, my EDC organizer won't be able to fit this particular knife. But let's have a look at the Arco Rambler EDC organizer. That's a 2-pocket carrier, and this will be able to fit in, I believe, the back over here, because there's ample space for it, and you still have space to put, let's say, a flashlight. In this case, the Olight i5T EOS. That should be able to fit in, I believe, no problem. And there's even space for a pen, in this case the Zebra extending pen right over there. But you can see the way it curls means it's really taking up a lot of the space, right? Because generally, if you have the right size, this entire carrier will be flat. So you could also take these items out, and maybe instead of a flashlight, get a thinner flashlight, or you could use a tactical pen like that, slot that in, and you can see now that's nice and flat, very comfortable and easy to bring about. So that's different ways you can carry this. So the golden question is the Pilar III a good urban EDC knife? Well, I think my thoughts are similar to the Pilar III. It depends on two things: what you do in your profession and what you normally carry around. If your profession requires a good heavy-duty working knife, then I would say this is definitely good, especially for the price point as well. And if you aren't carrying a lot of things, you can have a dedicated pocket for this knife and you'll be assured of a great working knife. But if your profession doesn't need such a heavy-duty knife and you're carrying a lot of other things, maybe your phone, an organizer, your ear pods, then you might find this a bit bulky. But I can see for the right people, this is definitely a good urban EDC knife. But what do you think? Let me know in the comments. Would you use this as an everyday carry, or do you already use it? Please let me know. If you've got any questions or additional info you'd like to add to this video, let me know in the comments as well. Thanks for watching. Please subscribe to the channel and like this video. And as always, keep it folded, keep it safe.